board meeting for June the 28th, 2016 will come to order. I'm going to ask Dr. Crenshaw to lead us in prayer and the pledge of allegiance.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we come and giving thanks, Lord, for allowing us to see another day. Lord, we ask your blessings on all the parents, the teachers, the administrators, all the support personnel of the Wake County Public School System. We ask that you bring them back for this fall semester, safe from all hurt, harm, and danger. Now, Lord, we ask your blessings on the first responders, those individuals who guide our country and keep us protected from all foreign land. Now, Lord, we ask that you bless this meeting, bless these board members, help them make decisions that are pleasing to thee. These things we ask in your darling Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I hear a motion for approval of the prior meeting minutes?
So move. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the prior minutes. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I hear a motion for agenda adoption?
So move.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda for tonight. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Ms. Peak, announcements?
We are very busy right now. Everyone asked if summer we have vacation, and it's no vacation time. Everybody stays extremely busy. We have professional development. The administrators finished a week of PD last week that was very successful. We have AP training going on. We have various trainings in all the schools. So summer is just as busy as the rest of the year. We just don't have the pleasure of having our students here right now.
I noticed the smiles on your staff's face when you said busy.
It is busy.
I
It
assume
is.
it is.
We have a lot of work going on.
Mr. Harwell, any announcements for you, sir? Mr. Battles?
No, sir.
Dr. Crenshaw?
No, sir.
Dr. Foster?
No.
Okay, very good. Okay, reports and recognitions, Ms. Phillips. Yeah, Derek, can you help her set that up for me? Yeah, the center one up
All right, can I call forward Dr. Carla McInnes and Mr. Doug Harwell? The students and staff at Mary G. Montgomery High School know that Dr. Carla McInnes is a top-notch teacher. Now the whole nation knows about her dedication as a STEM teacher. Dr. McInnes was selected as the 2016 SECME National Teacher of the Year. SECME focuses on increasing education options in the STEM fields of science, technology, engineering, and math, and thus creating a diverse and globally competitive workforce. Dr. McInnes was recognized during a conference in Nashville, Tennessee this past week, and her name was just added to our giving tree in the lobby of this building, which recognizes Mobile County's top educators. Congratulations.
He wants to be a doctor, so maybe
Okay, now I'd like to call forward Tom Herder with the Mobile Bay National Estuary Program and Dr. Foster, as well as Doris Gladden and some students from Baker High School.
Good evening. Thank you. At the Mobile Bay National Estuary Program, our mission is to promote the wise stewardship of the water quality and living resources of the Mobile's estuarine waters. And no one here tonight will leave without knowing that an estuary is where fresh water from the rivers meets the salt water from the Gulf or the ocean. So I want to thank tonight Mobile County Public School System and Goodwin Mills and Kaywood for sharing this task, accomplishing our mission. And we all together join Baker High School and its talented recent graduates, Abigail Brock and Andrew Bird, for producing a video that won the video. We promoted a watersheds video contest to promote, the practices that are going to take care of our waters, and these guys rose to the top and had the clear winner, and I hope you guys get to see it. So, Abigail.
When most people litter, guilt is a fleeting feeling. We've all heard the saying, out of sight, out of mind, right? Well, the reality of that is, whenever you throw your chip bag or paper napkin out of your window of your car, it doesn't disappear. It's got to go somewhere.
And that's why we're here. I'm Abigail, this is Andrew. We're about to talk to you about the Dog River Watershed. The Dog River Watershed is 95 square miles and drains most of the water from the creeks, streams, and rain that falls in the city of Mobile. The water flows into Dog River, from there to Mobile Bay, and from the bay into the Gulf of Mexico. Located on the northwest side of the bay, Dog River is 7 miles long, has 125 miles of shoreline, and is a very popular place for families, fishermen, and boaters alike.
But if there's one thing Dog River is famous for, other than a great place for fun, it's the staggering amount of trash and pollution located in the river. As more people move to Mobile, more land is cleared to build houses and businesses. The lack of vegetation due to the clearing has led to heavy erosion and sedimentary waste. Natural wetlands and swamps that once filtered the trash out of the water on its way to the river have been replaced with restaurants and shopping malls, allowing the pollution to go straight into Dog River and into the bay.
Now that we have addressed the issue and its components, it's time to ask ourselves, what can we do to prevent or at least levy the flow of trash into our local waterways? And how can we get people involved? Well, we decided to seek out Baker High School's AP Environmental teacher, Mrs. Stevens, for some answers to these questions.
So one of the greatest problems that we have here in our city is with trash that ends up in local waterways. And the trash that ends up there can be things that are very common among schools, which would include things like chip bags and potato wrappers, or even Coke cans and plastic bottles are very common. And so what happens is when you guys throw those things out onto the ground, they are going to end up washed into local waterways. I think the first step is we always want to educate people. You don't want to throw things on the ground. You want to put them in the proper receptacle. But sometimes you do that, and sometimes it's a problem when the garbage guy comes. You know, he comes and picks the thing up, throws it in the back of the truck, and sometimes those things become airborne. So it's real important for us to close and seal off garbage bags tightly to try to make sure that we're not feeding that problem when we put those trucks on the highway and things blow out. I don't want to say that it's a one-step process. It's really multiple things, but it starts with you and I. And so we need to make sure our stuff goes into the garbage and that the garbage is tied up tightly and that it's placed into the garbage bins so that it can be hauled off properly. And that's our best defense in terms of trash. I really think that one of the big solutions to waste management is we need to start this recycling campaign. So not only do you need to be responsible and do we need to educate people, we also need to be recycling the products that we have so that those milk jugs don't float down the river, because that's really a waste of our resources. And so we want to be able to reuse them for the same application or varied applications, which is going to help the environment. It's going to help us economically. It's going to help us aesthetically. There's just multiple wins for that.
So next time you think about throwing your trash out the window, remember, this is the only home we've got, so we've got to take care of it.
We hope you've learned something new through this video, but more than that, we hope we've inspired you to make a difference in the community. This is Andrew and Abigail, over and out.
Peace out, Girl Scouts. All right.
I think that's good.
Miss Peak, if you don't mind, I'd like to, what was the gentleman's name again? Mr. Hurt. I just have one question. Do the new trash things that the city put in for Dog River, those traps, are they working effectively now? Really? Great. Yeah, because I've seen the rivers after big rains like we've had today, and you know what happens with it like that. Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much. We're now going to move on to citizens' request. Delegates who have signed up will have 5 minutes to make their presentations. The good name and or character of an individual may not be discussed during an open board meeting. Ms. Peak, our superintendent, will keep the time and let you know when you have a minute left. First person that's signed up is Deshara Carey. Ms. Carey, if you would please.
Thank you.
And that's adjustable if you need to move it.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And I'm actually going to make it real simple, because I'm going to just hand out my questions and I'll just go. Well, my questions, I'm actually of course, I'm a Mobile citizen, but I'm also representing the Maysville community. And what I wanted to ask, these are just some questions that I have. With Maynes closing being so abrupt, why are the students not being provided transportation to non-failing schools of their parents' choice? Based upon studies that have been done, students perform best in a K-8 school environment as opposed to a middle school or high school environment. Why wasn't it considered to join Maynes with an elementary school, similar to what was done with Brazier and Chestang? Will there be a tour provided to parents of the progress that's currently being made at Williamson in regards to renovations to prepare for middle school students? If so, how soon? What are the accommodations being made for students with disabilities in order to assess classes in other areas of the building, library, cafeteria, gym, band, etc.? And how much of the $2.5 million school improvement plan is being allocated to Williamson and Williamson Prep? I know that $1.9 million is being allocated to Scarborough. So that only leaves $600,000. And from what I saw, there were approximately 12, well, there were total 12 failing schools at that time. I know 2 have been closed, which is Maynes and also Belsall Mount Vernon. With Maynes as well as Williamson student population enrollment being affected by rezoning, is there any considerations of zones being redefined, as was done back in 2010, to increase the population of BC Rain? Is there any consideration of rebuilding a middle school in the Maysville area should the population increase? And my final question was there an application ever submitted to the U.S. Department of Education from the Mobile County Public School System requesting funding for the federal Race to the Top program? If so, was it selected for funding? And if that is true, what phase of funding is the district now in? Those are my questions that I had.
Thank you. Our next request is, I'm not sure, Miss McNeil or Mr. McNeil? Is that correct? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Carolyn Mays.
As you know, our community is in an uproar. We're very upset, and we're going to remain that way until our problems are solved. I think you all already knew what was going to happen when you closed May Eames and when you decided to put the children with Williamson. You should have already known that most of the parents would never do that. That's a 5th grade child, maybe 10 or 11, gonna go in school with grown people. We would never accept that. And so now, since the parents are trying to get other schools to go to, you all already knew they were gonna do that. Now, it's only 2 schools you're saying that's gonna have transportation, and that's Scarborough and Grand Bay. But there's other schools that they can go to, but there's no transportation. We all understand what's going on in our black neighborhood, but I want you all to know today that we are not going to stand by and allow such things to happen. And also, you know, you also said at the end of school, how all our schools where the black people are going are failing. Well, you should know why they are failing. The proper curriculums, the proper materials are not there for our black African babies. And so I feel that it's time for us, the board, and it's time for us, for you all to let us come in, the community, and we want to decide what type of curriculum our children are gonna have. For instance, I bought a curriculum here. I have access to this. This is called Interactive. And it's a curriculum this is for a kindergarten. Now this is for a kindergarten. Our children don't have anything near this. If our little black babies had this type of curriculum, they would be progressing. For instance, this is the science for a K-5. This is just the science part of it. Now it has 4 other things to go with the language, the spelling, the handwriting and all that. But this is just the science. This is the teacher's manual. This is what the child will take home. The child has an actual book. They're not taking home sheets of paper. They have readers for the K-5. These are the type of curriculums that we are demanding that is going to come into our children's school, because I feel like where a child is 8 hours a day, and what is being put in that child's mind, that's what's going to make our community better. The reason a lot of these things are happening because there's a lack of education to our black children, and it's purposely done. And we are not going to stand by and allow this school system to continue to disrespect our community. You have to know we are not going to stand by and allow that. And I said the way we could pay for some of these good curriculum is that we don't need a superintendent. We really don't need a superintendent. We got a board. She doesn't vote. So I don't know why we even need a superintendent. So I want to get into the legislation part of this so some of that can be removed and money can come to our children. Because money is not coming to our children. No money is coming to our children. And then you say our children fail. They're failing because you're not putting anything in there for them to learn. How you going to say, well, I want them to take this test, but you haven't given them anything to know the test? That's impossible. So our children are being neglected. When I want this board to know that I want you, while y'all having all these meetings, I want y'all to sit down and say, now we need to let the black community come in and talk with us about our children. See, those are not your children, they're our children. And we want to have something to say on what they're going to be taught and how they're going to be taught and who's going to be teaching our children.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker, Mr. Peter Cupler.
Hello, I'm going to hold it this time so everybody can hear me. My name's Peter Cupler with AEA. We've had, of course, a number of calls to our office, and I've, spoken with a lot of the administration about the frustrations, the lack of correspondences, and of course, we want to work with the board and the Mobile County Public School System to get the word out on some of these meetings. I think a lot of the frustration is the lack of communication, and I'm not saying maybe within the board or within the administration, but maybe there's a disconnect from even the supervisory staff in terms of the principals and assistant principals. Sometimes they don't even know. And we had a couple cases where we went through some of these transformations or model school reconstitutions, and a lot of the employees were unaware of their positions or even action that would be taken potentially against them. They had to find out on the 5 o'clock news. And we just don't agree that that's very professional. It may not have been intentional. We're not saying it was done intentionally, but we do want to see that there's an increase in communication, professional correspondence, and memos. And, that's just something I think that would kind of work for everybody's benefit to reduce some of the frustration and some of the comments you may be hearing. And, of course, we would support any solutions that we met you or us could come together on to find a resolution in that. So professional communication bit, didn't want to talk about that. Also, in terms of budget cuts, we did have a number of calls into our office in the last couple of days in terms of this new incentive pay or sign-up bonus. We're not really sure if it's a merit pay, performance pay, and I pose that question, of course, to the HR director and superintendent. What exactly is this pay? We understand that there's even a difference within the sign-up bonus for math science teachers versus history or art, English, and some clarification I think would be needed, not only to us as a professional association, but also to, again, the employees. They're even confused. I've had a number of seasoned teachers call and say, well, what if I would like to transfer for this sign-up bonus? And I literally didn't have anything to tell them. I didn't know anything about it. We're not asking to actually be, to run the show, but we do want to be included on these conversations. So when people call, we can actually help you, help us, help everybody. That way, if you don't tell them, we can tell them, and we certainly don't mind doing that. So, as far as incentive pay, what is it? Is it just a sign-up bonus? If somebody's non-renewed, do they have to pay it back? That was a big question. So we wanted to know, and I, again, posed the question, Superintendent Peak, maybe the board members could help me out, and, of course, Mr. Hack and HR. So that's just a few looming questions that people have, and we would like to get some clarification on that. And I think, that would also help, you guys in terms of some of the potential budget cuts you have to make. We understand the tough decisions have to be made sometimes, but we would certainly hope that, we'd be able to find a amicable resolve to those instead of looking at personnel. If you're going to cut personnel, but then you offer a sign-up bonus, that seems a little contradictory. And we just wanted to point that out. If we're able to find some resolve with the budget issues as we understand them, we certainly will work with you on that and would like to be included in those conversations, which I know you've been busy. I know your staff has been busy. I know certainly HR and accounting budget department's been very busy, but, certainly the invite would be appreciated. And we might have some input that may be helpful as well. So I think it's a team effort and will be improved if that correspondence is made. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next request is Mr. Eric Beck.
My name is Eric Beck, and I'm one of the UniServe directors with the Alabama Education Association. And to repeat what Mr. Cupler said, ladies and gentlemen, there is a desperate need for communication from this board and upper administration to your staff and to the community. A lot of what has been said at this board meeting and previous board meetings speaks directly to the point that somewhere there is a disconnect be it intentional or unintentional, it's happening and it needs to be addressed. No matter how busy you are, no matter how busy I am, I'm expected to return phone calls. I'm expected to get out newsletters. I'm expected to deal with social media. There is absolutely no reason on earth that administrative site supervisors and staff should find out about a school closing on the news. There is no reason on earth why the community, the common unity, needs to find out about closings on the news. I have been here 10.5 years. I have seen almost a dozen African American schools closed in Mobile County. The concern that I have, representing my members, but also the community in which I live, is that the one time that I tend to see members writ large of the board or upper administration come into the community is to speak at, not speak to or speak with the communities that are affected. It is concerning. It is absolutely concerning. I have sat in on meetings with staff members in Mobile County where I am the first person outside of that building to actually come in and say, "Are you okay?" Please, like Mr. Kupfer said, help us help you. And the first piece that I can give you and offer you, because you know I don't speak often, is to communicate with your staff, your faculty, and the stakeholders in this room and outside those doors who have to deal with the fallout of the decisions that are made by this board and upper administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Page. Our last request is from Mr. Wade Perry.
Hey, I just wanted to get up and speak because Peter Kupfer told me if I was going to be a union rep, I had to get up and speak. I didn't know that. I've never done this before. Thank you for the advice. Most of y'all know me. Not everybody here knows what I'm doing now. When I left AEA, when Dr. Hubbard left several years ago, it was a proud organization with $20 million in the bank, doing a good job for its members, and today it's not. In the 5 years that I was gone, I had teacher after teacher after teacher say, "Can't we do better? Isn't there a better option for us than AEA?" And that's why I'm here. I've spent the last 3 months kind of watching and listening, paying attention to the issues. I've done a lot of research into AEA's financing and membership. I think there's a real question whether or not AEA survives. The Mobile County chapter has lost, nearly $100,000 in revenue in the last 3 years. State chapter is down between 30 and 40% over the last 5 years. They've lost a lot of credibility in Montgomery, and from what I hear, a lot of credibility with the school system. When I did what I used to do, 90% of my time, and a lot of the Stringfellow, you remember, Mr. Crenshaw, Mr. Foster, Dr. Foster, 90% of your money and 90% of my time as UniServe director was spent representing the same 10% of the worst employees in the school system. Your time in these employee hearings with AEA attorney after AEA attorney after AEA attorney, spending all the members' money over and over and over again on the same employees. There has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. There are improvements that have to be made. But for unions and teachers' unions to survive moving forward, it can't be the same model. We can't keep representing only the sorry employees. You can't keep being only against stuff. When was the last time AEA was for something? Anyone? Anybody tell me what the last thing AEA was for? Nobody? I don't remember. Well, I'll tell you what we're for. We're for reasonable dues. We're for representing good teachers and good employees. We'd like to see smaller class sizes, and we'd like to see teacher and staff rewarded for the improvements in the graduation rate, whether that's a one-time bonus or a local raise. I'm sorry, Ms. Simpson, I know that's not going to help you get to your 1 month fund surplus, but I think they deserve it, and I think it's time that employees have a competent, credible organization to advocate for the profession. And that's why we're here. Hope y'all will encourage members of AEA and non-members of AEA, of which there are a lot now, and let them know there's a different option, a better option, an option they can be proud of. Thank you. I look forward to working with each of you.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. We're now going to move on to action items. Ms. Peak?
I have a couple of changes from the agenda that we worked through at the work session. G3 has been added. It's the labor, a contract for labor to install a chiller at Council Elementary School. The low bidder was Star Equipment for $38,841. That's G3. I'll call your attention to G6. That's an additional item. That's the labor to install a chiller at Hollinger's Island. That is, the low bidder again was Star, and that's $42,777. G7 is an additional item. It's to instill the labor to install a chiller at MGM. That's Star Equipment, $43,989. G13 is an addition. It's a contract with the Contemporary Arts Center of Mobile to have the MGM prom for $5,360 in March 2017. That's local school funds. G18, we're going to ask you for approval to send out the 2016-17 salary schedule for a first reading, and then I will ask you to set 2 hearing dates for input on that, and I'll do that at the end of the meeting, but we just need to send it out for the first reading. Also need to ask on G29, there is an error there. G29 number 7 needs to be struck from the employee section of the agenda.
G7?
Number 7.
G29B, number 7. G29 number 7. Sounds like bingo. With that, I would take you to the action items on the agenda.
Ms. Peak, I'd like to say,
All right.
before you begin, for those people in the audience that are not aware, we did have a work session. For some of these, we may discuss at length about them, but if we do several at a time, it's because we've vetted them already and so forth, so I wanted to make you aware of it. Ms. Peak?
Take you to action item G1. Would ask that you approve the change order on the Burroughs Elementary new multi-purpose building, change order 1. It's an increase of $13,109, an extension of 61 days. The original contract was $1,089,000. The revised contract is $1,102,109.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
call for motion to approve action items 1 through 20.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve action items G1 through 20. Any discussion? Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Ms. Peak, 21.
Action item G21, we'd ask that you approve a contract with Franklin Covey Sales Incorporated to continue the Leader in Me training and provide materials at Turner Elementary School, $28,514.25 being paid out of local school funds.
Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
move approval of items 21 through 30.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve action items G21 through 30. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 31.
Action item G31, and ask that you approve certified assignments listed under separate cover.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir?
offer to approve action item 31 through 35.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve action items G31 through 35. Any discussion?
Ms. Peak, you say you're excluding number 7?
On 29. Yes, sir. G29, number 7 was excluded. Yes, it was struck.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Moving on to consent agenda H, we'd ask that you approve out-of-county travel as listed, H1.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda item H1, out-of-county travel. Any discussion? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. H2, Ms. Peak.
H2, we'd ask that you approve various bids as listed.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to approve a consent agenda H2, various bids. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Ms. Peak, student expulsion.
Agenda item I, we'd ask that you approve student expulsions 1 through 8 as listed under separate cover.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve student expulsions, I 1 through 8. Any discussion? I will add, Ms. Peak, again, as I normally do on this, that I'm disappointed that some parents were not involved in this, and that always pains me to see that. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
We present in Agenda J, information items, J1, monthly financial statements. For your reference, in J2, purchase orders of $5,000 and over for information. That concludes the agenda items to be brought forward.
Okay. Do we have any items of discussion? Any old business? Any board superintendent requests?
I just want to thank Ms. Speed and Mr. Sheffield for the movement on the renovations of the library at Hollow. They were very appreciative, well overdue, and seemed like they did a very good job. I just want to thank them very well last week. That's good.
Well, did they do?
Well, they totally gutted it. It was hard. Just real hard. There's 2 classrooms they had taken, like construction books, and they were now renovated.
Looks like an actual library
Yes.
now. That's good.
So thank you all.
I have,
Yes, sir.
in regards to the questions that were posed by the Maysville community by Ms. Kerr, I just request that the superintendent would answer her directly and make sure that those questions are addressed so that they can take it back to the community to discuss them for further discussion.
Let me add that the superintendent provide a copy to the board too.
Please. Any other discussion on that? Pending matters? Attorney-client privilege. Counselor?
spoke with Ms. Peak earlier, just a few minutes ago before the meeting, and there's got more information on pending litigation matter that I think the board would like to discuss in executive session.
So move, we go into executive session.
Wait a second. All right, we're gonna, all in favor? Aye. We're gonna adjourn.
I declare on the record that the pending litigation exception applies.
Last year, the class of 2015 earned over $97 million in scholarships, and the class of 2016 is already on its way.
James Walden, Jackson State University.
Kennedy Gooden, Troy University. Anne-Marie Thornton, Alabama.
Because 1 out of every 3 MCPSS students goes on to college with at least one scholarship in hand, no matter where they go.
Go Blazers.
Go Bulldogs.
Go Jags.
Roll Tide.
Go Badgers.
Southern Miss to the top.
It began with Mobile County Public Schools, graduating students who are college and career ready. It starts with us.
I hear a motion to come out of executive session.
So move. Second.
Okay. Scheduling of meetings, Ms. Peak.
I would like to ask you to check your calendars, and for the salary hearings, first hearing July the 13th at 3 p.m. You have a personnel hearing that day at 1, so on July the 13th.
I was just looking
Oh.
at Mr. Hack, is this going to be short, because 1 o'clock and then 3? Okay.
So
I
do
don't
you
have a
want to
problem.
do it, you want to do it earlier at 2?
What time of year?
But it might.
You could always break.
Can we do it at 12?
Yeah, you could do it ahead, if that's 12. Okay, great, fine.
Ms. Chambers, you're going to let us know now, right? Okay.
Also, would like to then suggest the same thing for the second hearing on July the 20th at noon, because that's before a board work session.
That's fine.
Just send it to Ms. Chambers.
So, Ms. Chambers, that's salary hearings, first hearing July the 13th at noon, and July the 20th, the second hearing at noon.
Okay, any other meetings? Ms. Peak?
The only thing I'd remind you is that we have a meeting Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock, just personnel items.
Mr. Hack, any other outside of that one?
We have set aside a couple days the week of July 20th, 19th, 20th, 21st for mandatory transfer hearings.
Saw that.
So far, there's only one that I know of so far that's likely to go. Now, that could change a little bit, but we've placed a lot of people who've been able to work lots of out. So there's a few that still have to get some work on.
Yeah, and also notice where Ms. Chambers sent us a message about student appeals. Is that right, Ms. Chambers? Okay, all right. Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Okay. Okay, did I hear a second? Okay. All in favor say aye. Meeting adjourned.